I am not Spider-Man because Spider-Man's not at the end credits. It was a prank and I totally fell for it. It looks so real. I really want Spider-Man to be in the end credits, but there's nothing. There's nothing there. It was a total letdown. Oh God, I feel like such a moron.
Mr. Simpson, such an end credits teaser does not exist. I fear you must have imagined it.
It's real! It's real! I mean, it's not real. They made it up. It's a prank, but it existed!
Yeah, so we, there. Can you, thank you. Yeah, so we stayed for the whole end credits, and, my wife, was just like, there's nothing there at the end, and like an asshole, I believed my brother.
It looks so real. Now there's a whole making of like how we fooled everybody video.
I just kept telling her, I'm just like, well, Doug says there's something, and she's like, have you seen anything? I'm like, no.
And she's like, well, Joss Whedon said there was nothing at the end.
Yeah, that's what she said.
He's a liar.
I just kept turning towards my wife, and I'm like, I know, but he says he saw it on the internet. There's something with Spider-Man and wow, dude. Wow. So.
And this is Sibling Rivalry. Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, and all the rest are back in Avengers Age of Ultron.
It's a low-budget independent film.
Yeah, I'm glad it's getting some attention.
This Whedon guy, he's best known for his Shakespearean film.
See, I heard he was really known for writing one of the Alien sequels. I don't know. Like, that's what people loved him for.
Yeah, Resurrection, I think.
Yeah, he did very well. This is the Ultron AI that is kind of created by Tony Stark and aliens, and
hey, you left out the Hulkster.
The Hulkster as well, yes, give credit where credit's due.
Hulk Hogan had
a cameo. It was amazing.
Yeah,
he's apparently a scientist.
I didn't think he could pull off a scientist so well.
You put glasses on, white coat, boom, he's a scientist. The AI goes nuts, or does he? Because saving the world can also mean destroying the world. Yeah, we're doing that. But the Avengers have to go and find out how to stop this thing, because he's everywhere. He's in the internet. He's in pretty much every machine you can imagine, and it's a race against the clock until he destroys the world, pretty much kind of like the last Avengers movie. Alright, so we can't really talk about this until we talk about what we thought of the first one. I did a vlog, but years later, has anything changed or whatever? I thought it was an incredibly entertaining, enjoyable, super fun, well-written, dumb comic book movie.
Communist!
You think the exact same goddamn thing.
Yes, but I don't admit it out loud.
No, it's one of the most entertaining films I've seen.
Just be quiet, they may give you the gas.
No, it's one of the most entertaining films I've seen in years.
And goons are everywhere.
It's great that it paid off, this giant experiment that cost lots and lots of money, and it is well written. Whenever anyone's like, well, how can something
Did you say cost or caused? Lots and lots of money.
Either or.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, how can you have, a dumb popcorn movie that's well written? And that's a good example of it right there. I mean, it's totally possible to do.
The funny thing, well written, not well constructed. That's the weird thing about it. It's a very funny, hilarious movie. If you really look at the plot, though, I'm like...
Oh, yeah, the plot's stiff. That's why I say it's a dumb, but enjoyable comic book movie. Again, kind of like the Lego movie. It's like the plot doesn't make any sense, but they kind of explain why and how and stuff like that. So even that's actually a little better than the Avengers, technically.
I mean, I think we just got to take the rose-colored glasses off a bit. Because the first... I like the Avengers. Don't kill me.
Get your keyboards ready. Get the dislikes ready.
It's funny because I'm going to use this argument to try to prop up the sequel, but in some ways, and I hate using that word because it always implies bad, but overrated? Like, just a little overrated. I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
Dislike, thumbs down, down.
No, honestly, I think it's a fun as hell movie. It was very entertaining, but there's been like this kind of, like right from the beginning, I think it was declared the greatest comic book movie ever made before it even came out, which I think is part of my issue with it. And like, you maybe could make an argument it's the greatest comic book movie ever made, but as far as I'm concerned, it could join about a list of maybe 7 or 8 other films
It's great
that
in that
I like just as much. You know, going back to Richard Donner's Superman, you got the Burton Batman, you've got, Nolan's The Dark Knight, which to me is kind of almost the gold standard. I'll just say it, I kind of liked Guardians of the Galaxy more than the Avengers. And I really like the Avengers, but for pure entertainment value, like, the Avengers is a movie I could see like 50 times and still be okay. I feel like I could watch Guardians of the Galaxy till the day I die, like 1,000 times, and I still just find it hilarious and entertaining. So
there you go. We don't want to go on forever
Yeah.
about what we thought of the first one. So we both really liked it. I mean, even though it's not the great, oh my god, this is the greatest movie ever made, but
the sequel, my god. I just can't believe that. You know what? There's pacing issues in this movie. It's a series of one-liners.
You know, the villain's
the
motivation.
plot's a little confusing.
I thought it was a little weak. Just take over the world, really.
It's a long movie. It's over 2 hours.
I mean, what did they think? They were making a comic book film or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Whedon thinks he's a little more clever than he really is.
That doesn't hold up to the high standard of the first one. The brilliant, when that guy was playing Gattaca, I mean, it was just like, there's no Gattaca in this. No Gattaca.
I think you can see where we're going, and this is why we had to kind of diss the first movie a little, even though we like it, because most of the criticisms I'm seeing, and I didn't read any reviews until late last night after I saw the movie. When I started reading some of the negative reviews, even the positive ones that are backhandedly negative, I'm like, but these are all problems with the first film.
Yeah, it's like
the
exact same problem. Honestly, in my opinion, they fix some of the problems.
They do, because there's more character in this film than there is. I'm sorry, I love the first Avengers, but there's like no character in that movie.
Yeah, it's them interacting, which is fine.
Partially,
partially,
I'll give it this. Partially too, because they had a number of other movies setting up this like. What do you need to set up about Iron Man? We had 3 films, only one of which was really that good. But, the same thing with, Captain America. We had, that film.
Yeah, they really wanted more character.
So, but really, if you watch the Avengers not having seen those other films first, like... they're like cardboard cutouts almost. Like, it's a series of funny one-liners and jokes. And,
but there's such good
not
characters, it's okay.
Yeah,
but you don't know much about their...
what's still there.
What's the big dilemma? They're not gonna get along. Well, in this one, you actually find out, like, about their past. Hawkeye becomes, like, an amazingly interesting character, and, like...
To a degree, though, I think it's hilarious to think about Hawkeye is that he may be more boring than Captain America.
No, I was totally on board for this guy.
No. I liked it because it was, it was very endearing. It was really endearing, but at the same time I'm like, I thought Captain America was a Boy Scout. Jesus Christ.
No, I absolutely... Oh, that's what you meant by boring, okay.
Yeah,
I'm just like, what are you talking about?
I enjoy watching him. I just mean as the way the character is written, like the whole... I don't know if we should save that for spoiler corner or not, because it is a funny reveal in the film.
Yeah, I mean, we won't give it away.
We won't go into it, but yeah, we find out he's more of a Boy Scout in some ways than Captain America is, which I thought was amusing, so...
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, they made it more interesting, they dabble a little bit more into Black Widow's backstory, but still not all the way, still not too much, and not in a way that's like Harry Potter or the X-Men movies where it's like, oh my god, will you just tell us fucking something?
I feel like
it's like they legitimately
up for
tell something like really interesting. You're like, wow, I want to know more. This is so intriguing.
I feel like we're saving up for a Black Widow movie that's never coming.
I really wanted this Black Widow movie.
Biggest cock tease. I mean, literally, it's Black Widow. It's the biggest cock tease going on with her backstory, and I'm like, seriously, just do something with that.
But I like...
Because she's compelling.
She's really... I mean, I think she's my favorite Avenger,
his moments are pretty compelling. Like, most of the characters... Thor's not compelling.
I fucking love Thor, though. I'd say he's awesome. I just like... It's a toss-up between, like...
this Thor thing. It's kind of funny.
He's just so cool. He's the only one that talks like a big, epic, major character. And there's just something so cool about that. Like, when they're done, it's like, how do we do it? It's like, the gates of hell are filled with the screams of our enemies. I mean, it's like, that's just so awesome. You have this great big superhero team. There's a guy that actually talks like,
Thor's a bimbo.
He talks like this Tolkien character. And it's just so cool. You have these people doing the one-liners and stuff. And then Thor Thor saying his big, massive, awesome, kick-ass thing. It's just cool. He's just cool.
Thor is entertaining in the movies, but like if you're asking me for my favorites, he's way down in the bottom.
No, honestly, either him or Black Widow, I think, are my favorite. Everyone's like Tony Stark, but it's like he makes a million mistakes and he's just such a show-off. And Black Widow, it's like, not just doing my own thing. Fuck you guys.
Well, Tony Stark is the most entertaining character.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're talking characters, pretty much since Iron Man 1, I feel like he's slowly had the character sucked out of him a little bit. Like, they've kind of just, they're like, okay, we've done everything we can with Tony, now he's just going to be a one-liner, spewing machine. He just dispenses one-liners like, Pez candy, like...
Yeah,
so,
he's a genius, but he's tormented.
Yeah.
It's like, or he's a genius, but he's an idiot. Get it? It's like, yeah.
I don't feel like any of these, including this one, because so much of it rested on Tony... And it's really just kind of dropped as hints, like at the end, like, well, he's not going to do the right thing. Why? Because he's Tony Stark. And Ultron is so confused and tortured and weird. Why? Well, because he's got Tony's personality kind of stuck in him. He was a product of Tony Stark. So I feel like now we've just, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but kind of dumbed Tony Stark down to this kind of like archetype of like, well, he's tortured. That's it.
Well, really,
in the same way they've done, I think, in some ways in this movie with Captain America. I feel like, well... He was frozen in time, and he's a goody two-shoes.
No, you know what? But again, I'll make an argument for Captain America in this, and maybe this is because of Winter Soldier as well.
Oh God,
but,
I love that
no,
movie.
But in the first film, it's like was it the honest trailers that say like Captain America, nobody's favorite character? But
I liked Captain America.
No, but in this film,
in
in this film, like he felt like the leader. Like in the first one, he was like, he just knocked some guys out and told the police people what to do. Well, it's like, well, what, are you the leader? I guess I am.
And you know what's nice?
But this one, he felt like the leader.
No, that's a really good point. And you know what's nice? He is not a raging douchebag leader.
Yeah.
Like, how so easily could you have turned him into Cyclops or Leonardo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or just every lame archetype of you just kind of want to punch them in the face. I've never gotten I want to punch Captain America in the face, because half the times he's right. Particularly near the end of this movie, so...
When all the others are kind of badasses and they're rogues and they, go off, sort of like making their one-liners and stuff, but he very much like is keeping it together. I mean,
he doesn't ask for credit. All he does is says he got that reference.
So it actually, like, these characters actually in many respects, I think, are becoming more interesting and kind of stronger as these movies progress. But now, having said that, I will say that the film, there's two downsides to the film.
It's dated as hell.
Well, no, but that kind of goes back to the first one, too, is that, yeah, it is a comic book movie, but, I mean, in, like, every meaning of the word, it's a comic book movie, but you also got to take into account that as a film, there's going to be stuff you're going to be like, wait, what? Huh? And parts of it are very much on repeat, like the first film. Like, hey, remember that scene where, like, the Hulk goes nuts and has to go against another Avenger when the Avengers don't get along and they're sort of separate for a bit? All of that comes back. But they do it in a different way and in an interesting way, so I surprisingly didn't mind that much. But even the climax is very much kind of like, bunch of robots flying around, they're hitting a bunch of them, and, they're in a circle again at some point, and the camera circles. I mean, there's a lot of callbacks, but it's not, to me it wasn't annoying because they did it just different enough and they added just enough.
Let's just talk about the story, because I think that's where some of the problem comes from. Okay, and I'm not saying... The issue is, and X-Men, the recent X-Men films had the same problem, is that these stories are so old now and so dated that when you try to just turn them into a modern film without finding a way to kind of twist it around and update that story, it starts to show.
I mean, they twist around a little bit.
They twist around a little, but I mean, we all had the same thought.
New.
We all had the same thought. We're watching this, like, what, Tony Stark never saw The Terminator?
Okay, no.
Or 2001, A Space Odyssey? Like,
this is my problem number 2, because this is at the beginning of the story, so this is fine. They find Loki's, big evil stick, and they...
Spear?
Yeah, spear, sorry. And Tony gets a vision of, like, the future. All his friends are dead. All the Avengers are dead. And Captain America literally looks at him with his dying breath saying, "You could have saved us!" And he dies. Next scene. Next scene, what does he do? You know, I'm gonna use this thing and create this artificial intelligence that could totally destroy the world, but probably won't. And I was just like, are you for fucking real?
You didn't get it. No,
No, I mean, it's like he
thought
wanted
it
to,
for
like,
a split
protect
second.
the world.
It took me a few minutes of screen time to figure it out. He thought that was going to be the future if he didn't do something to save the Avengers. So he thought he would...
Everybody is watching this and thinking like, oh, he's gonna be like the cause of it. I mean, it's like, come on, he must have seen
He's
like
Tony Stark. He is Robert Downey Jr. Let's be honest here. Alcoholic coke addict. Like, that's what a coke addict solution would have been.
No, but it was one of those things where it's like, you know, looking at that, it's like, you know, come on, and right after that scene, you could have saved us. It's like, well, I'm gonna put into development the one thing that will probably make this happen.
I mean, that's an issue. The whole concept of the story, oh, the artificial intelligence got confused, like HAL 9000, and he thinks by destroying the Avengers, that, like, the Fifth Element did it, just like, all you people want to do is destroy, and, like, I shouldn't bother.
No, there's good things, convince them that humanity is good.
God. It makes me think of the Red Dwarf line, you know, cut the Star Trek crap, it's too early in the morning. So that's kind of my issue, and like, listen, when the original Ultrons were written, it was like the late 60s. This was hot shit back then.
This is 2001 was coming out.
Yeah, this is 2015 now, and I have no idea, because the Age of Ultron, like, I stopped reading comics because life got in the way. Comics have always been, I've loved them as a friend, not as a lover. So life got in the way, so probably, yeah, late 90s is the last time I was reading anything. I read most comics in the 80s and 90s, so I didn't read the new Age of Ultron that came out, probably, was it past 10 years maybe?
I know nothing about Ultron.
Yeah, so I don't know if they updated the story or not, but I mean, the story feels like, this version feels very much like something that would have killed in the early 80s, but now you're just like, wow, this is every single sci-fi plot like I've ever seen. Like, there's nothing really new here. And that's a problem. I think that is my one complaint. You do have to kind of find a way to update these things.
Well, but to be fair, again, in the first film, I mean, it's like, both films have villains that are almost laughably not scary. But they're
Ultron
cool.
is not scary.
But they're cool, and they actually sort of have fun in how not scary. You know, Ultron make all these speeches and everything. At some point, like, the Hulk destroys all his minions and stuff, you know, and Ultron, you know, again, is making a speech. You know, in hindsight, and finally he punches him. Again, kind of like in the first film.
No, my favorite is when Ultron tries to escape for, like, the 5th time, and then Hulk or Thor, somebody busts into his plane and you just hear, oh, for God's sakes. I like that stuff. My problem with Ultron, I think, is the CGI did not do it a service because they animated his face. The original Ultron face is kind of scary looking, like a jack-o'-lantern. I feel like if the mouth didn't move... And wasn't super animated. Yeah, in the beginning...
He was kind of creepy.
He was kind of creepy, but when
his wires and, like,
his mouth starts moving and everything, and he starts to look like... Smith from Lost in Space, a legion of spiders. Like, it's got a weird CG. So it's not particularly scary. He's very funny. But yeah, like, once again, I feel like the villain's kind of probably the Achilles heel, but...
Yeah, but again,
here's the thing. Like that said, I had a really good time.
Like, I really enjoy, and you know, and here's the thing, the slow points in the first Avengers, you know, are legitimately, like, kind of slow, and okay, can we just get to the scene we know
I think Honest Trailers put it best, 40 minutes of trying to repair this damn engine.
Yeah, like, you'll forget that the first 20 minutes are actually kind of boring. And, you know, and they're right. But it was fine because it gave so many other good
But their point was,
it.
even in the Honest Trailers, is, oh, come on, no, this movie's awesome. Like, and that's what I don't get, is like, this film has the exact same problems as the first one, except now they're just like, oh, well, this just sucks.
No, but...
I'm like, but it's the...
But what I like as well, though, is that they take some of those problems, and like I said, they give us more character, they give us more backstory, and they give us more interaction. There's a scene where they're just at a party, talking, and I was
that
like,
was great.
You know, I could watch this for the movie.
I could too.
People are
it could
so
have been 2
interesting.
hours of these people partying, which is sad, like, because that's all it would take for me. But I'm like, you know what? I could stay at this party all day, yeah, and just watch them interact.
You know, in the first one, you're seeing them interact for the first time. In this one, like, they know each other and they're working off each other, and you find out more about them. So when you get to those kind of slower points, to me, they're still much more interesting than the first one because we are finding out about them.
Well, and that's what the first one was missing, was actual character development. There was none. I honestly...
There was character, but you're right,
Yeah.
nothing further than character.
I got spooked early on because this movie opens up like an attack on Hydra. And like, it just dumps you into it, and honestly, the CGI in the
really
beginning...
bad.
Way, like, it gets better.
So if you're watching, you're it gets better.
If you're watching in the first 15 minutes that Hydra attack, and you're like, oh my god, this is a bunch of plastic, like a little plastic Black Widow jumping. It is the most ridiculously CGI'd, like, cheap-looking thing, but...
They get better, so...
After that 15 minutes, and, like, there was no real character development, it was just, one line, I'm like, oh my god, the whole movie's gonna be like this. And then, when the characters started interacting, I'm like, well, this is what I was kind of missing from the first one. As much as I love the first one, it's a series of just events that happen. I never feel like I got to know the characters anymore.
Yeah.
Like, this one
fixes
a lot of that problems. The villain, I think, is kind of even weaker than Loki, and that's kind of saying something. But, so it's kind of like a mixed bag. It's like, it fixed some things are the same, it's kind of derivative, because again, I feel like we're just watching stuff that happens. Not a lot of progression, like, once again, like, Thanos ends up there somewhere near the end, and he doesn't do jack shit.
It's like the exact same ending of the first Avengers, except now he has a fashion accessory. Yeah. That's it. It's like the exact...
Spoiler alert, he puts the gauntlet on. Ooh! Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, and says the same thing he says at the end of everything, I'm coming!
I'm gonna be in one of these movies! Wait 10 years! So, yeah, but... It's funny because I was just listening to the radio this morning and I'm seeing online everywhere and I was like, oh, it's getting such bad reviews.
It's at 75%.
Oh,
that's still
horrible.
pretty
I'm like,
decent.
75%, and most of the negative reviews are like, yeah, it's kind of meh. I'm like, what? I think there's a contingent of people out there who just want this movie to fail. Like, are really desperate to see it
couldn't capture the magic of the first one. We were there at the first one. Now they can't recapture it.
Honestly, I think that's part of the problem. I think critics, when they look back on their glowing reviews for the first one, are suddenly seeing, like, the little breaks at the seams and stuff, and they're like, oh, well, we gotta course correct. Like, so we gotta, like, not like this movie as much because we probably overpraised the living fuck out of the first movie. And, like, it feels like some sort of overcorrection. Like, everybody is thumping on this movie for things that the first movie did.
Yeah.
Like,
and if anything, fixed a few.
Yeah. I mean, the only two things I will say is, the movie's kind of derivative. I feel like, plot-wise, we still really aren't going anywhere. This is just a setup for Civil War, and... It's, the villain is not as great as it could be, the story's dated. But everything else, there's more character development, so that kind of offsets that, and it's pretty much the same thing over again. If you like the first Avengers, like, I liked the first Avengers, I feel like, well, I kind of got the same film again, and it was fun.
I got the exact film I thought I was going to see, honestly. I got the Avengers going around, saying one-liners, showing more character about them, demonstrating more about their past and how interesting they are and how well they work off each other, stopping a bad guy with robots flying around, and some decent, good action, nothing quite on par with, like, the Hulk hitting the... whatever that metal whale was or whatever, but it's still some really, really good action, very fast and very quick, one or two moments where people are like, yeah, but not as much as the first one.
We had two applauses and there were a number of laughs.
Yeah.
Like, the laughs were all really good.
But for me, like I said, in many respects, knowing what we think of the first film, I do like this one a little better because, like I said, we do get more character, and that is what I love about the Avengers. I love the character, and you still have the good action, and you still have the fun.
I'll just say it. If these movies were reversed, if this one came out first, we would be singing the fuck praises out of this film over the second one. It would be it would literally be the exact same thing. The critics would be going about, if you reverse the films, they'd be talking about what is the first film now, the second going, oh, it's just not the same, it's this and that. Because I think you're right, this film does a number of the things better. So I don't know. I don't get the critical reaction to this. If you just want a good time, it's the Avengers.
It's
that's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess neither of us were, like, especially hyped for this movie. I mean, we weren't like, oh no, I gotta see Avengers. Like, no, this looks like a fun, dumb summer blockbuster that's
well, it doesn't help that I'm
not
not a huge Ultron I wasn't a huge Loki person either because
Yeah,
I
I know
wasn't a
nothing
big
about
Thor
Ultron
guy.
or anything.
Yeah, like these are like I'm waiting for Civil War and for the Infinity Gauntlet. Like I feel like I'm just biding my time.
And I'm waiting for
that,
X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, so if I get
They got Psylocke! Okay.
if I get entertainment along the way waiting for those things, I'm like, all right, well, I guess that works.
Yeah, I mean, it really is like if you like the first film, you'll like this one most likely. That's really kind of what I'm thinking. Unless you like are so hyped that it's going to be even bigger, even better, even more gigantic than the first film. You know, if you're looking for like an even bigger spectacle, I don't know if I'd say it's that.
They're the same.
Yeah, they're about
Which
the same.
maybe is part of the reaction, is they're just like, everybody expected to be ratcheted up to some insane level, but it's kind of impossible to do. Like, it's really
The first
difficult.
one was the first meeting of these characters,
Yeah.
the first time this was done, and they're still continuing this story, and yeah, I think, like you said, there are sort of those rose-colored glasses with the first film, because it was the first time it was done, and nobody knew if it would work. You know, we were excited and we wanted it to work, but we didn't know because we never have seen something like this work, so when it does, you're just so happy and so excited. So, you know, but with that said, it's fun, it's enjoyable, but it's not like, wow, this is a really in-depth psychological study that's changing my life. It's a really
more
big,
so than the first one.
yeah,
but-
no, it's a really, no, that's what I'm talking about, the first one. It's
sorry.
big, dumb, enjoyable summer blockbuster, and this one, I think is the same, except we actually get a little bit more character, which I think is even better. So, yeah,
I'd say see it if you want something kind of like the first movie. Yeah.
yeah, with a little bit more character and action, stunts, and effects, and I thought it was a lot of fun.
And there was a kick-ass Ant-Man trailer before it.
Yes.
Actually, that's the funny thing. The only thing they had to missed opportunities, I think the original Ultron had something to do with Ant-Man. I thought it was his personality in there, or he created him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'm just like, well, you could have had a tie in there. I don't know why they didn't do that, but I guess they're just like, well, it should be Tony Stark and the Hulk, and I guess how would you fit Ant-Man into this? That would have been hilarious.
He goes inside the AI, the little computer brain.
I mean,
thing, and fights it out.
I think the old Ultron story, if I remember properly, the one like from the early 70s or late 60s, whatever, like, yeah. So.
But yeah, you pretty much get, I think you can sort of gather from this if this is something you like. I mean, if it's like, no, I want something even bigger and even grander and stuff like that, it's not really
gritty.
Well, and there are some gritty moments too, to be fair. But it's still your big dumb.
I don't think it ever got
fun.
Winter Soldier gritty.
Yeah, or like Dark Knight.
I'll say, I do think this movie is benefiting a lot from Winter Soldier. That movie built up a lot of goodwill that can carry some of these characters.
Yeah.
Particularly Captain America, because knowing what he went through in Winter Soldier, I'm just like, all right, I'm more invested in him, but yeah, that is like the double-edged sword. You have to kind of see the other movies but that was a problem.
Not for them. It's like, you gotta see our other movies.
Yeah, so that's my only replies. I liked it.
Yeah, no,
People say,
it
"Oh,
was fun.
this movie sucks. It's terrible." I'm like, okay, I don't get what you expected then. So
Yeah, so I thought it was a lot of fun. It was exactly what I expected in a good way, and I definitely really enjoyed it. So I'm still not Spider-Man, and still pissed off that I got had.
it's okay.
It's not.
It's okay.
It's not.
There, Bart. There.
Get Wolverine in these movies!